Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the Chronicles with us, the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
And I'm Nick.
And this week, the Foxes ambush United, but do United lack bite? United chat coming up next. And the return of studio quality sound and funky beds means one thing. We are back. And that means we've got Nick here to my left and producer Joe through the glass. Good evening, gents.
Hello, you all right?
Right, how's it going, mate?
Yeah.
A few technical issues, so we only have a few beds left, so...
There we go.
We'll see how we go.
It was fresh. I like it.
I mean, it's new.
It's a good intro.
We'll try.
Now, I'm going to start off the United chat. I mean, there's only one way to start it, wasn't it? The weekend just gone. Leicester City won, Manchester United won. And Nick, I want to start with a point that you made actually on Twitter early in the week. You said that under Fergie, that had been 2 points dropped and chance to go top missed out on as well. But under LVG, that's a good performance away from home. Now, the question I want to start by asking you on that point you made, because it was a good point well made, but who actually thought it was a good performance?
I just saw a lot of comments on Twitter. That's where it came from. After the match, obviously, I was reading it, and there was a lot of fans saying, obviously, that were disappointed at the result, but then there was a lot of fans countering that, saying it was a good performance. Leicester aren't top of the league for no reason. They have a dangerous goal scorer in the midst who did score against us, annoyingly. But no, I just think there seems to be a changing of ideas at United. Leicester aren't a great team. They've conceded, 20-plus goals? The reason they're top of the league is because of the scoring goals. The wheels will come off eventually, whether that be against us or over rivals. It will happen.
You have to think, don't you? Because, I mean, when Arsenal showed up, they romped them, didn't they? They scored 5-2. So, yeah. I mean, you've got to feel with Leicester... I mean, they're doing incredibly well, outperforming what anyone could have expected. But yeah. I agree with you. They can't be up there at the end of the season. No. With that squad, they just can't.
Why not?
I just don't think, when you look at the quality of teams around them, I just don't think anyone's stepped up yet to the level needed to put a run together to run away with the title. I don't see Leicester being that team. That's my personal opinion. I think you'll see them drop into Europa League.
You can't doubt the quality, though, can you? You can't.
Currently.
Exactly. So, I mean, at the moment, with the quality they've got...
It's just every single player in their team is firing at 150%.
Exactly. And they're going to tire, but our teams haven't switched on like they have yet. Which...
They even bring on, who is it, Albrighton? It's like Ronaldinho in his prime. Like, you know, the wheels will come off eventually. But...
Is the problem then, Joe, I mean, are we disrespecting Leicester? You know, are we not giving them enough credit? Did we turn up thinking we were going to win?
No, I think we turned up looking like we were going for either a draw or something similar. I think we set up again defensively. We don't look like we're going to score. We don't. I don't ever feel like we're on the attack. There's nothing exciting about the football we play. It's very boring and slow and lethargic. And you just think to yourself, what are we trying to achieve here? It's just I get that he's trying to control the game. But nobody wants to see that.
I think LVG is trying to win the league tactically.
Points too often made, these, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, we sort of hear it all the time. But even LVG, though, says after the game, disappointing performance, unhappy, with the missed opportunity to win and go top. I mean, when you look at the game, Nick, we didn't really give ourselves enough of a chance to go top, did we?
It's boring. I don't know. I can't really say much more about it. I sat there, I watched the game. Rooney was absolutely abysmal as per. Got taken off. I think fewest touches on the pitch at 27 touches. I think he had. The only bright spark I thought who looked dangerous, and he hasn't scored in a while himself, is Martial. But I think that's more us not creating chances rather than the man himself. But apart from that, we're not creating enough. I think the biggest issue we don't have any pace in the team. Apart from Martial and Memphis, if he plays, there's no pace in that team whatsoever. And I think that's a major cause for concern. I don't think that's why we create enough.
I feel like that we're now... Even the changes that LVG makes are wrong. You watch back to Champions League, to Leicester. The changes that are made at half-time or the 60th minute, they make us a worse squad.
It's the plan B that annoys me.
They're not improving us. But the changes that are being made are just not doing anything for the team. All that's happening is that we're getting slower. We're bringing players on who should have fresher legs, but in fact it's making us slower, which makes no sense. So I think clearly something is going on with LVG telling these players to keep the tempo slow, because they would not come on fresh-legged against a team who's obviously going to be tired after 60 minutes of football and just be that slow and boring.
I've got some more worrying numbers as well here. Nick pointed out about Wayne Rooney's touches. Against Leicester, 10 attempts at goal we had. That seems adequate enough. When you break it down, though, only 2 of those shots were on target. That means we'd have needed to convert 100% of our shots on target to win the game and 50% of them to draw the game, which is what we did. And that's a phenomenal conversion rate, like Nick says. It's not that we don't have goal scorers. It's just that we don't have enough chances made, good, clear-cut chances.
Remind me of the two people, the person who had both shots on target.
It was Bastian Schweinsteiger, which is really concerning, and that's what the problem is. They both came from set pieces. We don't create enough good opportunities in open play.
I don't think I've seen United actually take a good set piece in 3 years. I've said this every week, and to. I mean, they were decent balls in. Again, I think the goalkeeper could have done a lot more against us. But
the one we scored from, there was an identical one. I mean, they showed this on Match of the Day as well. A couple of minutes before, Kasper Schmeichel came and collected an identical ball, so it was his mistake.
I mean, it was nice to see a ball going into the box for once, rather than just being flicked on from the front post by Carrick or Schweinsteiger.
Well, it's been another frustration that we've noticed as well, hasn't it, Nick? That corners and free kicks have become an exercise in keeping possession as well, going short, being popped back to the halfway line. So it's good to see something direct, at least from United.
I'm going to defend LBG a little bit. At the end of the day, he is a manager. He can only do so much. And I do agree with the point that he is probably holding some of the players back within the team. And that's rightly so, because we did get absolutely mauled at Arsenal. But this has long been going on before that game. I said it a minute ago, what I think the biggest issue with United is its pace. To win the Premier League, to even challenge for the Premier League title, you need bags of pace, and we don't have any in the team. This is a professional football team, and if you look at who we have playing, Darmian's not very quick, Smalling's fast, granted, Blind isn't quick, Rocco's not particularly quick, Schweinsteiger isn't quick, Schneiderlin isn't quick, Mata's not quick, Rooney's not quick. You know, these are professional footballers who I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I could probably give a race to.
That's not the whole point, though, of football. I know pace is important to build into a squad, but the intent of the play is as much of the pace of the player.
I mean, you could play James Wilson then if you want quick players.
Well, he can't. He's gone now. But
and we have Anthony Martial up front, who's got pace, but
you compare it to
it's
our
about
rivals.
more than that.
No, it's we've got one, maybe two players who have a little bit of pace about them. You compare that to the likes of Arsenal, City, even Chelsea at the moment, who obviously have bags of trouble, but they have a lot more pace. Chelsea won the league last year. They had pace like Willian, they had pace like Hazard, they had pace like Diego Costa, and we don't have that. And I know you're saying, I agree completely, it isn't just about pace, but if we had more pace in that team, players like Mata and even the pathetic Rooney this season could open up defences more, but we don't have anything. It's the slowest team in the league, and that's without an exaggeration.
I mean, but you look at all the you've mentioned a few players that we have got a bit of pace.
Yeah.
You look at all the 11 players on the pitch. Who's the one player that has the most freedom? And it's Schweinsteiger, probably the slowest player on the pitch in terms of how his creativity and making chances. And he's the player that's been given free roaming.
I think the only reason he's been given that is because of what he's done in the game. I think he probably has a bit of a.
I know, but even against Arsenal, he was exactly the same. He can anyway. He hasn't got a set. It doesn't seem like he's got a position on the pitch.
It's just the way I see it. When we cause big problems, it's against fast teams. That seems to be our Achilles heel. We were ripped to pieces by Arsenal, and we all said before the game, Carrick and Schweinsteiger together doesn't work, particularly against fast teams. And I'm not just saying if we had pace, we'd win the league straight away with the click of a finger. It's not like that, but I'm just saying we would be a far better team to watch and a far more entertaining team to watch if we had 2 or 3 lightning quick players in that starting 11.
I think when you look at the numbers, I agree with you. Pace is lacking, and that's something that can be built into a squad.
Do you think any team in that league right now is slower than United? In terms of player for player in the starting 11, any teams that you would pick? Because I'd struggle to find a team with slower players.
Tottenham aren't a particularly quick team.
No, you don't think so? Dele Alli's not slow. Eriksen isn't that slow.
They're not pacey though, are they?
Harry Kane's not one of the fastest in the league.
Yeah, but
Harry Kane
he's a
slow.
substitute. Harry Kane is slow.
They're not that slow though.
They're not what you call pace
Mata
players,
when he's sprinting looks like he's jogging. Like, this is the problems we're having.
I mean, it winds me up watching Mata run. I'd rather
it's
him
like
walk.
watching him in slow motion.
I want to pick up, though, on this point that I mentioned earlier, though. I know what Nick's saying about pace, but I think sometimes we need to take more of a chance with the passing side of the game. I think sometimes we just need to take a shot when we get to the edge of the areas as well, because how you expect 2 shots on target in a game to win your game, you have to have a test of the opposition goalkeeper, and we haven't been doing that. There are only 2 teams this weekend, I had a quick look through it, that hit less shots on target than Man United this weekend. 2 teams in the whole league. That's pretty bad. Anyone fancy taking a guess who those 2 teams were?
Bournemouth.
No.
Sunderland.
No, this is it.
Newcastle.
They're teams that aren't doing well, but they're not these
It's
teams.
going to be Chelsea. Isn't
One of them is Chelsea.
and probably
Swansea is the other. Yeah. Chelsea
Who-
and Swansea.
who
And where
might
are
add-
they?
Both teams have faster players, might I add, but
They do, but they had less shots on target, and they might have more pace than us. But where are they, Nick? 14th and 15th.
let me
they're not
ask
going to
you a
end there,
question.
though, are they?
Let me ask you a
What I'm
question.
saying is, though, they're struggling because they're having no shots at goal. They're not putting any test into the keeper like we are. And that's why we're struggling.
If Smalling's header from that corner had fallen to Martial and he would have banged it in, it would 2-1. Would we be saying this right now, or would we have been happy with the performance?
I mean, the thing is, a
If it was
win's a
2-1,
win.
If it was 2-1, would we be moaning
I'd
about the
still
chances?
be sat
Would you
here
still be sat here saying the exact
disgruntled.
words?
The win
I'm sick
is
of the style
important.
of football.
Yeah.
I don't care if we win. I'm fed up of watching it week in, week out. It's the most boring thing in the league. We're supposed to be Man United, you know. We've been treated, we've been blessed by the likes of Scholes in the past gigs, even Cantona, Ronaldo. Even you could even argue players like what Mata. You know, when he came to us in the January of 2013, he'd been Player of the Season twice at Chelsea. I thought we were getting something special, but even he seems to have come off the boil this year.
I mean, there are a lot of players out of form, but I think LVG's instructions are a big part of this. I know he's not entirely to blame, and the players have a responsibility. I get that.
And again, it's a combination of things.
Of course it is.
Like,
he does seem to restrict team shooting in favour of recycling possession. He also chose, for some reason, to revert back to this 3-5-2 formation with Rooney and Martial as strikers as well. And yet they were on opposite sides of the pitch. I mean, Joe, there is absolutely no link-up play between Rooney and Martial in that game. Is there any point playing them up top together? That's not a partnership that's working for me.
Do you know what it is? It's like a team that doesn't know who each other are. I don't think it's like watching 11 players who've been picked from different teams and different levels, and the odd world class. Well, I'm not going to say that. The odd player that could potentially turn world class to a few has-beens, and it's just not working because there's a lot of these 2 contrasting styles being played by our players. These players who are trying to add a bit of flair. There's 1 or 2 of them, and there's players who are holding the ball back, slowing it down, like Schweinsteiger, controlling the play at the back, controlling the speed of the game, and then we've got this defence that seemingly out of nowhere the best in the league, and it doesn't really make sense from what the players we have in our squad. Should the defence be a highlight of our team? No, it should be the attack that should be the big talking point. But yeah, again and again we're talking about how good our defence is rather than how good our link-up players, which it shouldn't be.
No bad thing to have a good defence.
Nothing wrong with it, but we're only talking about it because we're highlighting something that's probably average compared to. I mean, there's no big names in there, is there? It works a bit like Leicester. It's working at the moment. Will it work forever? No. But again, we should be looking at the players we have got, like Memphis, like Martial, Lingard when he was playing well, Mata. These aren't players that should be. We should be cursing. We should love these players. We should love Rooney, but everyone's moaning about him.
I think they have to earn that, though.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
that
Rooney
they've got
earned
to
it over
earn
the years, but for the past couple of seasons, he's not been the same Rooney.
No, I completely agree that you've got to earn that respect, but I'm saying that's the problem with our club at the moment. But
when it's not going right for us on the pitch, what do? Every single time, you'll know the answer, I know the answer, Andy knows the answer, we bring microphone head on. You know, and I like him as a player. I think he's got something different to offer. But
I think we should sell him.
We shouldn't be doing it every week.
If we sold him, there's no option there. So that's my option. Just get rid of Fellaini.
What? Have no plan B at all?
I mean, but is it a good plan B?
Paddy McNair up front. He used to play up front for the reserves.
Is it good? Is it a good plan B? Is it not working as a plan B?
Do you know, my thing on Fellaini is, since we're bringing him up, and I mentioned this on the Express show that I did last week, if you're going to play the ball directly into Fellaini, why are you then asking Wayne Rooney to play those balls from left back and have nobody around him, so that if Fellaini does win the header and knock it down or miscontrol it, you're expecting too much from Fellaini. He has to trap it on his chest or United lose possession because there's nobody around him.
Something that Moyes did, should he go back to being plan A? Should
No.
Fellaini be starting games?
No, but
when-
he asked another question in that response. Then why is Wayne Rooney even playing? That's what I want to know.
I mean, but it's kind of, again, I've always said this about Rooney. You run the risk of seeing something magical with him and getting a bit of form back with him. And
When was the last time we saw something magical?
I'm not going to answer that.
He's not been at Hogwarts lately.
No, but what I'm saying is it's not right to drop your captain. I mean, that would be a bold
No, it's
move.
too late. It's too late now.
It'd be a bold
He's
move
missed
at this stage in the season.
We've talked about this. He's missed his chances, Rooney. I'd keep him. I won't get rid of Rooney in January, but come the summer, I'd look to offload him personally.
Lack of options, small squad would be my thoughts
if
on.
you saw him in another team kit in the Premier League, you wouldn't be happy about it. If he was
I wouldn't be
scoring goals.
bothered personally.
Yeah, but if he was getting the service that he should be getting at United,
would he go? Would he go to a team where he'd be getting better service? Because he wouldn't go to a better team than us. They wouldn't have him, so he'd be going to a lesser team. I'd offer Everton, let him go back there. You know, but that's my personal opinion.
swap deal for Lukaku.
Not a bad one.
Not a bad one, yeah.
Now, we talk a lot about the defensive side there, Joe. You mentioned early on in the start of that rant about defence being something that is shining at the moment, and quite rightly points out that could be a problem going forward, because if we miss Chris Smalling, I think more than half the defence is gone there. We have so few options at the back, and I was just saying, Nick, he played 3-5-2 at the weekend, reverted back. Strange decision after the horror show 5-3. He played the same formation last season. The King Power didn't work out well. But he said, LVG, this week, that he was forced to play that formation because of injuries in the squad. Do you see the logic in that? I mean, if you're missing players and you're short on options at the back, why would you add more defenders in?
It was a bizarre decision when I was watching it. I
Weird,
didn't want
isn't
to go 3 at the back personally. I thought what he was going to do, he was going to put Rocco or Blind at left back and move the other one into the middle and carry on with 4 at the back, but he didn't. He changed the entire shape of the team completely, which baffled me because it would have just disrupted our system if we had one anyway. I don't know. I've always stressed this with LVG. I think he really, really underestimated the job he had on his hands, and I think it's dawned on him in the past 6 months how big a job he does have. And obviously, at the moment, I can't see us doing anything this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I can't see it. And that Leicester game, that was another nail in the coffin for me. It's the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Wasn't great viewing, and we've had a couple of those experiences recently, Joe. But the 3-5-2 situation at Leicester does the same thing again. I mean, does LVG tend to make these mistakes consistently in trying to prove that his decision's right? And, sort of by way of almost massaging his own ego. Is that what it's all about with him?
I don't know what he's doing.
I think he'd rather draw than lose.
At this point, I look at LVG's tactics and think to myself, would anyone play the same as what he's playing at the moment? Any other manager in the world, this be the formation that we're playing? It's got nothing to do with our strengths. It adapts nothing. I mean, it should be adapted to the players in our team. And we've got an awful lot of strong midfielders, and if we could play 2 at the top technically, because Rooney, that is something that Rooney did when he was younger in his career, and it worked. I mean, that used to work. So why can't Martial and Rooney play up front? Why can't we have a bit of a more of a 4-4-2? Make it simple again. Make it more attacking. Make it more exciting for the fans. Because this year, I think it's the most unfortunate year. I think it's the most unfortunate year to buy a season ticket.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
I mean, I just look at the money that's gone out of my account and think, what am I paying for here? I'm paying for 0-0s, 1-0s.
But I think this comes back to you get an insight into LVG as a man. Is he bothered about you as a fan? Is he bothered about us as fans? He doesn't care less as long as he gets results. And I think when you look at Fergie would have rather lost and go for the game and play entertaining football than draw tactically. And I think that's the difference in the managers.
I sit in the East Stand at Old Trafford, which always United kick off and shoot towards the East Stand. That's always been the thing. We finish at the Stretford end. And I turn up now expecting for the first 45 minutes that I will not see a goal in my half.
I turn up and expect to be bored.
I mean, I walk up and say, you don't get excited by it, do you? You don't think, oh, that was a great performance against Leicester. I'm really going to enjoy the game on Saturday. You don't think that, do you? There's nothing to you're just hoping every week. Yeah, that's why.
You as a fan, me as a fan, Andy as a fan, all the fans out there. When United were due to play, half an hour before kickoff, 15 minutes before kickoff, there's a build-up of excitement, and now there's nothing. I don't feel anything.
I mean, even outside the ground, it's kind of lackluster.
It's like the soul's gone.
There's no urgency for fans to even get in the ground anymore because it's just. I mean, what you turning up to? 45 minutes of watching 0-0 and then maybe a scrappy goal in the 60th, 70th minute.
It shows though on the pitch as well, because even in the midfield where we supposedly have options and supposedly have been quite good this season, United, in my opinion, are really lacking bite in a game. When you sat there watching the Leicester game, Leicester are throwing bodies in there, they're putting themselves fully committed into tackles, and United are sort of almost ballet performing round challenges. Like, no one ever throws themselves in there. And I got some more numbers together on this just to show this as well. United won 10 tackles at the weekend. Again, only 2 teams over the weekend made less. Those 2 teams were Arsenal, consistently known as yellow-bellied bottlers, and Stoke. And they lost at Sunderland.
I mean, one of the biggest problems in our team in terms of tackling and putting the challenges in is I hate to say it, I hate these words coming out of my mouth, is Martial. He has no enthusiasm to win that ball back. If he loses, that's it. It's a bit like watching Giroud. You watch him lose the ball, you know he's not going to chase it back. You know he's going to put no effort in. He's there for one reason. I understand that's his job, but there's just no urgency from him, and it leaves us exposed that he does not. And when he's playing out on the right, he's not covering anyone. What
worries me even more, though, I mean, Martial is a prime example. One Mata going into challenges looks fragile, even though Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger, who were supposed to be brought to out-muscle, to dominate games, to dominate teams, to bully opponents into submission, Nick, they're not doing it. We won 50% of our challenges on Saturday. Leicester absolutely bossed us in the challenges with smaller players than what we have in midfield. Why are we not trying to outmuscle teams anymore? Why are we not throwing ourselves into the game anymore?
No, I agree with what you're saying. We haven't got a key now. We've not got a natural leader. This stems back to, Van Gaal again picking Rooney as the captain. None of us ever thought he was going to be captain. But no, we've not got a leader in there. We haven't got bite in there. I totally agree with that. But another thing that I want to add to that as well, another thing, we can get away with that in Fergie's days. When Bay's gone by, we could get away with not having the bite in midfield because we had a fear factor. Teams like Sunderland, Newcastle, Leicester, even these Leicester teams, West Ham on Saturday, they would come to Old Trafford and they would know they're going to get an absolute hiding if they don't perform at 150%. But now teams come to Old Trafford, they know what we're going to do. They know we're not going to bully them. They know we're not going to create any amazing chances out of nothing. They just come, they'll sit back. West Ham on Saturday, they'll turn up, they'll sit back, they'll hit us on the counter-attack. They might get a goal, we might get a goal. We're predictable, there's no fear factor, there's no bite in midfield, and we're slow.
Yeah, the fear factor has completely gone, and I think that's something that we have to accept, and as a result of that, we need to change the way that we approach these games.
The things with fear factors, they're so easy to lose, but they're so hard to get.
Yeah, they are.
We need to go 2 or 3 years, like City done. 2 or 3 years at the top, battering teams 6-5, 7-0.
But what we need to be doing is what the likes of City are doing, and dare I even say Liverpool are doing under Klopp. We need to be pressing teams high up the pitch. We need to be immediately going after them to get the ball back when we lose possession.
You're not going to like me for this, Andy, but this again comes back to pace.
Yeah, no. This is. I mean, but if we've got no pace, then why are we not trying to take advantage of that when we're on the attack? If they get the ball back, if even players without pace can win a ball back, and then the problem is they're playing such a high line that pace isn't going to beat it. So the only other option is, if you haven't got pace, is to win the ball back.
Van Gaal, isn't it? That's not.
If you win the ball back, then there's your option.
Yeah, because Schneiderlin is well known for high pressing.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. But what I'm saying, you've highlighted Liverpool, and obviously they got the fantastic result in the cup against Southampton, and you've highlighted City. But again, I'm going to sound like a worn out record. Look at the pace of their team compared to ours. They've got significantly quicker players than we have.
Do you think in LVG's tactic that each player's role is so dependent on another role on the pitch that if one player has a bit of independence, then the whole team falls apart?
I think we've seen that against Arsenal when he threw Schweinsteiger under the bus over performing a role that wasn't within his duty, so to speak.
Are we too polished? Is that what it is? Are we trying to be this club that's so
regimented?
There's the word that I was looking for. That the problem is now that each role is dependent on another. So we can't. There's no freedom. There's not going to be any creativity because everyone's so worried about covering each other that there's nowhere to go with it.
LVG's sort of idea of domination of a game is almost like poetic, whereas really, his is down to the beauty of the play, passing the ball around, recycling the ball, where really domination of the game in the old English sense was being brutal. It was snapping into challenges. It was putting pressure on teams as soon as they had the ball. And it was about really taking the game to them. And it just feels like we're toothless at the moment. And I know it comes back to this thing about pace, Nick, but the thing is, anyone with any desire can still go and close down a ball.
I know. I take you. I agree with everything you say. It is bite. It is enthusiasm of the team to get forward and push. But like I said, we highlighted Liverpool, who played well. We highlighted City, who they've got the players they have. And I'm just going to say it. They've got. I said it a minute ago. They've got faster players than us, so we can't play that type of football. And that's what LVG wants to play, but we simply haven't got the players to play it. He keeps saying, every time he gets asked about transfers, he wants faster players. And if we get faster players in there, we will cause more problems.
All right, I'll respond to your point because I know you're very big on the pace side of things.
Yeah.
Then, if Louis van Gaal then gets the January window, he's repeatedly going on about getting faster, pacey players to build a team around.
Okay.
What happens if we get to March and we're still playing the same football? How long do we give that to work?
I wouldn't be worried because I think who can you get in January really? That's significant. You can't. The January transfer window, in my opinion,
is a
waste of time. Well, the Chelsea wanted to get rid. We're not going to get that calibre of player usually in a January transfer window. I just think I wouldn't look towards that one. For the rest of the season, I hate to say it, we might just have to grin and bear it the way it is. Scrappy results here and there, hard fought draws, stuff like that. That's something we have to take on board, in my opinion. At the end of the season in the summer, we really need to invest. We need to offload a bit more deadwood again. I'll use that word, i.e. Rooney. He won't go though, sadly, but that's what we need to do. Reinvest in the squad, play Mata essentially, and build pace all around Mata.
Well, there you go. There's Nick's solution. I'm just going to fire through the ups and downs and some fan reviews to end this before we move on to the fan takeover. A couple of ups for us. Bastian Schweinsteiger. I know we all felt dominated the game in a good way. Somehow our biggest attacking threat as well, as we mentioned. And Chris Smalling, solid and calm as ever, wasn't he, at the back? Never looked like we were going to concede when the ball was near him.
Future Man United and England captain.
I believe so. A few downs in there, though. Darmian struggled again against pace, despite not being that slow a player himself. Just seems to have a bit of a knock of confidence at the moment.
I think it stems from that Arsenal game, doesn't
it? It does.
What happened to Darmian? I don't get it.
He met Sanchez.
No, but even before that,
he was given the hook as well, the old Paddy McNair hook at Southampton. Van Gaal did it to McNair last season, which ruined his confidence for a long time. Did it with Darmian, and then as Nick points out, there was the game at Arsenal, and I just don't think he's ever got his head round those couple of experiences so early in his career. But hopefully he'll bounce back.
Memphis as well.
He was poor on the day. Memphis, little cameo role, could have scored if he'd have controlled better. Again, down to confidence. Also going to throw Mata in there, continued his recent poor form, offered very little. Martial, as Joe pointed out, looked uninterested, lacking end product, and Wayne Rooney, well, we don't need to say any more on him. Fan reviews then, before we move on to the next feature.
Yeah, skip that one.
Absolutely. At Cogsy666 says, another coma-inducing game of possession football with no end product. Patience is starting to wear thin now. He rated the game 2 out of 10. At True Fan Man United, sadly predictable 6 out of 10. These fan reviews are becoming sadly predictable to read through.
I just feel like I want to go and give them all a hug.
I know,
that's how bad it's getting.
It's horrible, isn't it? But we did get a 7 from Ryan, Copious Opium. That was generous. Nothing much to write home about, but facts are facts. We held second in the league away from home. Shrug.
It's Leicester City.
Sums it up, doesn't it? Now, before we move on to the fan takeover, it was a couple of weeks ago that this happened now, but we've not been in the studio since it happened. Of course, we had the Rename Wayne competition, where we asked you for a different name for Wayne Rooney.
I've got a few.
Yeah, we had a good few as well. We had Bellend, didn't we? As one of the suggestions, we had Judas in there. A couple of very funny suggestions as a new name because, of course, Chris Smalling, since he's turned to Mike, has become a different player. Now we did eventually get a winner of that, and we've sent him out a mug. We're hoping he eventually posts us a nice little picture of it. But the winner of the competition was Tizza, he's called. It's at Tizek 2014 with his entry.
Sorry, it's a little long-winded, this one. Lack of cartwall. Not far off.
Ike.
That was the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard.
Seemed unnecessarily long, didn't it?
I did not. I apologise if you ever heard that. I did not have any pre-run.
There's some congratulatory music.
I'm here in disbelief.
There you go. Moving on then to the fan takeover from Monday. Every Monday we ask you some of the big questions around Manchester United. Polls, debates and all sorts of great opinion get thrown around all day. It's a fantastic way to spend a Monday, actually. And we're hoping to be joined on the phone shortly by Mark from the United Stand to have a run through some of his opinions on this. But we're going to start by having a quick chat through the first of the debates we had this week, Nick. Want to get your sort of views on it and have a quick chat through this one. First question we asked then from this week's fan takeover: are the players' performances being negatively affected by knowing that Van Gaal is only a short-term manager? I mean, where do you sort of stand on this, Nick? I mean, are the players sort of struggling to buy into what LVG's selling purely because they know at the very latest by next season he'll be gone?
I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, I think if you're a footballer and you're playing for a coach who's approaching the end of his career and obviously wants to go out on a high, I've already mentioned this in the past. He's a bit of an ego booster. I stand by what I said months ago. If Guardiola was available in the summer, I'd get rid of LVG no matter what we do this year. It's, if he's 10 years younger, I'd keep the guy, but he's 65, 64, and I just think, we're approaching the time now where we possibly need to look into that. But yeah, if you're a footballer, it'd definitely be in the back of your mind.
You'd think, wouldn't you? Now, that's what Nick thinks. I'm going to get onto my opinion shortly because we are now joined on the phone by Mark from the United Stand. It's been a while, so it's great to have him back on. Good evening, Mark.
Evening, lads. Not expecting a while. Hope you're all right.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Things with United probably not going how we'd like, but then again, I still think we'll be topped by Christmas, so that'd be nice.
Fingers crossed, eh?
Ever the optimist.
Absolutely. I just want to start by saying, and I'm sure everyone has already got the congratulations in, Mark, but we all saw the awards the other week, and you won, of course, the new blog award at the awards ceremony, so congratulations to you guys for that. Great bit of work for United there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there was 2 awards, one voted by journalists and one by fans, and I think we won the one we wanted to win. So, yeah, it's good. I mean, much like yourselves, just I think fans are the most important thing in football, and that's the opinion I listen to over anybody. So to be involved in that and doing this sort of thing is fantastic, and hopefully yours and ours will grow as the years go on.
Let's hope so. Now, there were plenty of great debates this week that we put out on the fan takeover, Mark, so we're going to jump straight in and get your point of view on what we discussed here. Me and Nick were just talking about the way that sort of players have been affected by knowing that Van Gaal is only a sort of short-term option. Now, the poll results of this, 69% said that they don't think players are being negatively affected by Louis Van Gaal only being short-term. But I was just talking to Nick here, and he was saying, as a footballer, mentally, you're going to sort of have it in the back of your mind that he is only there short-term. So are you going to truly buy into what Van Gaal's selling? Where do you sort of fall on that, Mark?
I think it's all right at the moment, and I think it's been okay probably up until the summer, which is where I believe the board need to make a decision. I don't think he can stay beyond the summer unless they're going to give him another contract, because going into a final year, I think you're spot on. You can't have that situation where players know he's going in the summer. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson, he knew he was going at Christmas, never revealed it till the end of the season, because he knows himself from when he tried to do it, I think it was in 2002, you announce you're going in a year, and the drop-off, as we saw with Sir Alex in 2002, was ridiculous. So I do buy into the fact that I think after this summer something's got to be done. At the moment, I think the impact negatively is coming from his tactics.
Okay, I mean that's a fair point, and we've discussed his tactics earlier on in the show. So I mean we certainly see where you're coming from on that side of things, but it does seem a difficult one, doesn't it? As you say, you know, if someone knows for certain that at the latest a year down the line we're going to be having a switch of manager, it's a fundamental problem, and I think it's a problem in the wider sense of football as well. I mean, do you not feel that we perhaps need longer term commitment from both managers and club owners to sort of give more time for an identity to actually grow within a football club?
I don't know. I think a manager should always get 5 years. I know we did that to Moyes and it backfired, but I do think that if you give 5 years, you're saying it's a long-term project. And I think most clubs these days, if it doesn't work out, you've got to expect to pay the manager off. I mean, it sticks in the throat that we had to pay Moyes off, but that's the way of football. I do agree that you've got to give it 3 years. Is gone in no time, like you say. So. But I think Louis van Gaal, the 3 years, was more about his age and him wanting to retire and this being one last job for him. And I think Manchester United didn't do their homework on him. And I don't want to talk about tactics, but I think they went for a big name and thought, 3 years is fine. But yeah, I'd say you've got to be looking at 5 because it can have its problems.
I completely agree with that, Mark, and I think this is part of a wider problem with United now going forward as well. Obviously, we had the years under Ferguson, which we were spoiled and very much well treated under. But like you said, homework seems to be missed out on there because we were never going to sort of claim a true identity in 3 year period. And we knew where Van Gaal was up to with his age and that he was planning on retiring. I mean, would you think that this would affect United's decision on their next manager that they pick? I mean, would this experience that we've had under Van Gaal, previously under Moyes, would this sort of time frame of getting the manager to commit affect your decision on the next manager you choose? And the reason I ask that, I'll just preempt it, is a lot of people mentioned about Pep Guardiola being touted as next Manchester United manager. Well known, of course, for moving on every.
It as well.
Yeah, but he moves on, doesn't he, fairly quickly? And he's looking to move on. From Bayern now. Would you be cautious in who you choose as a result of things like this, Mark?
I suppose. I'm not a fan of Pep Guardiola anyway, but I suppose if they went for him, and I think he'll end up at Man City anyway. Where else would he go after Manchester United? He's done Spain, he's done Germany, and then England. I don't think there's anywhere to go after that. Of the status he's been, other than going back to maybe Barcelona, but
or a national team, maybe, yeah,
or a national team, like you say. But I think it's going to be Giggs, and I think Giggs obviously would be intended by the board to be long term. I don't agree with it being Giggs, but I think that's what they're looking at. Gary Neville going to Valencia, I hope he does a really good job because I think he forces the hand of the club to give him the job. I think the fans are becoming far more vocal now, and I don't think the board like that, but they're having to listen to the fans. I think on Saturday, if the football's bad, Louis van Gaal is going to know about it, and I like that. I like the fact that the fans are being vocal and starting to have these sort of conversations, because like you, I think we need... I mean, the ideal would be Gary Neville goes to Valencia, maybe 18 months, is absolutely fantastic, and ends up at Manchester United for the next 10 years. That would be the dream, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course it would. That'd be incredible if it happened.
It was only that easy.
Fairy tales do come true every now and again. But before I move on to the next debate, Mark, that we had on Twitter this week, I just want to tie you down on a name for this one then. Who would you personally go for next United manager, given the choice?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I think I would probably go Koeman, and that's really left wing, I know, but I like.
I didn't expect that. That surprised us.
I like Ancelotti, but I never liked him loads at Chelsea. I like him as an individual, but I don't think his team's really stood out as, he's going to come to Manchester United and get us playing the way that we want to. But I look at the likes of Koeman and Pochettino playing with limited resources, who always seem to bring the right sort of players in, play football the right way in the Premier League, and that's massive for me. And it's like I really like Lukaku because he's young, he's a Premier League proven striker, and he's got what I think we need. And I think, that sort of manager, we'll never appoint them, but why not? That's exactly what we
I
need.
like Pochettino. I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
of his.
he's doing incredibly well and did so at Southampton, so rightly deserves plaudits.
And Lukaku is, I think, his youngest player to score 50 goals in the top league, under 23.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But something that you mentioned there about Ronald Koeman, Mark, is an interesting one. Just a sort of another way of thinking about it, with his rivalry with Van Gaal, perhaps he'd go out there and try and sort of outdo him, and he might end up doing really well as a result of it, trying to prove that he's a better manager than Van Gaal, perhaps.
Yeah.
Who knows?
A young manager with ideas like that, because football is developing at such a fast rate. I mean, that's the great thing about Pep Guardiola. I just think that's what we should be looking for, and I think Premier League proving, you can't put a price on that. I know people want, these European stars, whether it's managers or players, but you can't put a price on Premier League, as we've seen with the likes of Pedro and Di Maria. I thought they'd make it here no problem, and they flopped, haven't they? So.
Absolutely. Now, Mark, we're going to approach the next debate with caution. It's on Wayne Rooney, but it's a slightly different angle this week. We asked, do you believe Wayne Rooney's substitution was genuinely down to an injury or a change in Louis van Gaal's mentality? This was something that was Nick was sort of thinking on, perhaps thinking that LVG's changing his mind a little bit on Rooney now. However, 72% of the fans still believe that it was genuinely down to an injury, so only 28% were starting to think there might be a shift there. Yes, he did take a knock from Robert Huth, we also saw that, but he was okay to continue. And there was an interesting quote here from Louis van Gaal I'm just going to read out before I ask you any further on this, Mark. Louis van Gaal said after the game, "I don't think it's an injury to Wayne. I wanted to change one of the strikers. It could have been Martial or it could have been Rooney, because neither of them were running behind the central defenders, and I want that. Because of this, I wanted to change, but then he was limping, so the choice was easy for me." Where do you fall on this, Mark? Was it just an injury, or was Louis van Gaal starting to think maybe it's the end for Wayne Rooney himself?
There's a lot of things I don't understand about Louis van Gaal, and I really do not understand the Rooney thing. It's been going on for so long, and I think it's generous to give him anything more than a 4 against Leicester out of 10.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
So he should have been subbed, but you know what? When it comes to Rooney, I'm just so baffled by it that I would have to say I think he took him off because he was injured, because I don't think he would take him off. There's something weird going on there. I'd love him to. I suppose Saturday's the big thing. He shouldn't play. I'll guarantee. I'm not a betting man, but I'd happily put a tenner on the fact that he will start. He shouldn't do, but there's just something odd going on there. I don't know whether it's just stubbornness now, but no, I think he was subbed because he was injured.
No.
So you're going along with that. Nick, I know you made the point about this because this is where the question came from. I mean, what was your sort of thinking behind that?
I think it was a load of rubbish. I don't think he was injured. He took a bit of a knock to the side of the stomach. But how many teams take off the captain at 1-1?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think he's peaked personally. I think Fergie saw it a few years ago.
Yeah, he definitely did.
And I think we're not sort of getting anything out of him anymore. And I said it earlier. I'd probably move him on into somewhere if we can.
We all know what Nick would do with Wayne Rooney given the choice, Mark. What would you do with Rooney? Would you keep him, sell him, drop him? What would you do going forward with Wayne Rooney?
No, I want to believe what Nick thinks. I'd love to believe that, but I just I've become so tired and fed up with it that I try not to let it bother me so much. I'd like it. I think he needs to go, but I did a video this week on it, and I tried to be pragmatic.
It's difficult, isn't it?
£54 million to pay off his contract. I think the club can't get rid of him. He's got him over a barrel because of that money. And I think he doesn't want to go because he wants to break the record. And I think he's dragging the club down. And I think he's going to limp over the goal scoring record for personal gain. I don't think he should be anywhere near the team. And it's sad to say that.
I respect what he's done for the club. Don't get me wrong. He is a United legend. But like you said, £55 million, and he's earning, people forget this, £300,000 a week. He's in the same sort of zone as Messi and Ronaldo's wages, and he's not even a tenth of what they are. So
your time's up, isn't it? And I know he's only 30, but we know he smoked. He took his top off last weekend, and why is he carrying that amount of timber halfway through the season? That might be just a natural thing. I just don't. You look at his mum and dad, and that may be a family hereditary thing that he struggles to get rid of the weight. We all do, but
Yeah.
That's what I blame it on.
If you watch old clips of
decline, yeah.
Rooney, just watch old clips of him, you can just see the difference. The reactions, his speed, his pace over 10, 20 metres. He just hasn't got it anymore.
He's like a classic car, isn't he? Started out with incredible horsepower, and it's all sort of run away from him over the years. Too many miles on the clock,
He's just got
perhaps.
gradually worse for the last 4 years, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to move on to a question that Joe put out there on Twitter this week about our other striker, who's also currently, unfortunately, falling out of form as well. 1 goal in 2 months from Anthony Martial, Mark. Joe put out the question on Twitter this week. How long do you give Martial to pick up goal-scoring form before looking at dropping him?
I think with Martial, and I'm not going to take credit, I think it was a very good line at the very start. I think it may have been Alex who said it, where he said Martial's playing well at the moment because he can't speak English and Louis van Gaal can't tell him what to do. Now he's obviously established what is the orders. He's suddenly gone a bit rubbish. But no, to be honest, he's 19 years of age. I never expected that much of him, and I think he gets all the time in the world. I think he gets at least a year and a half. And I think put him out on the left wing as soon as possible and buy somebody like Lukaku. We need an out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
I do think he has the potential to be a Thierry Henry sort of player, but he's not there yet, and he's got a hell of a lot of pressure on him, which I think is really unfair. So I would give him some time. I think he's good enough. And just very quickly, I think it's very interesting. I know Rooney gets a lot of stick, but you look at all of our attackers over the last 2 years. I mean, I think it's disgrace Robin van Persie went, but none of them have played well under Louis van Gaal. I just wonder how good Rooney could still be under a different sort of manager. I still think he's on the decline, but I just think Louis van Gaal has a very negative impact on strikers.
Yeah. Definitely. Now, Ryan at Copious Opium got involved in the debate put out there by Joe and said he'd give Martial forever. The simple reason being, who else?
I'm going to explain this question. I'm going to
Go
jump
on.
in.
Yeah, jump in. Go for it.
Because basically, I wasn't saying in a bad way that Martial is bad. I wasn't accusing him of being an awful player. Like, I wasn't comparing him to Rooney. I wasn't comparing him to Memphis. Nothing like that. What I was saying was, in the same light, we've dropped players in the past, like Memphis, like Mata did a couple of weeks back, just for not performing. And I don't think Martial is performing. And when is it time to try something else? Whether we move in position or do we take him out the team for a bit because he's a young player? Do we protect him from the abuse he could get, like Memphis has already got, and Di Maria? I'm just thinking, when is it too far to start protecting Martial?
Fair point. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from on that. But I think the problem with United Strike Force, and I don't know how you feel on this, Mark, is that because there is such a lack of competition up front now, it's almost like it's hard for any of our players up front to build up any sort of passion, worry, whatever you want to call it, to perform, to keep their place in the squad, because it is almost guaranteed.
Well, yeah, I mean, who else is there? I mean, well, there's Fellaini, isn't there? There's always Fellaini, unfortunately. But realistically, you're right. I suppose Memphis has found himself out of the side. But if you are someone like Anthony Martial, I mean, what's he going to do? Play Rooney up front with Fellaini off him? I mean, he can try that. It won't work. So
Fellaini up front.
Yeah, well, or even at the number 10. I don't know. Again, Fellaini's a player I don't like to spend too much time thinking about. But
we know that.
It is difficult. I mean, James Wilson's just gone on loan. We didn't buy in the summer.
Got that Rashford, that young striker. He's supposed to be very quick.
I don't know why he hasn't thrown him on the 2 games he's been on the bench.
You might as well.
That frustrates me, yeah. But I think they've got to try and buy a striker in January, but who they're going to buy.
Yeah.
Just to spread it out a bit, like you say, just to mix it up. Sometimes people need taken out of that pressure cooker.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point, Mark, because I personally feel, and I mentioned this last week, that Martial, Memphis, Lingard, there'll be more, and there's been some in the past as well. Players that are so early on in their Manchester United careers, I've noticed, are getting such a lot of stick early on now. And it does seem like there's a lot of pressure on attack at the moment, and therefore the sort of microscope and the spotlight is on them every minute of their performance.
Not won anything in 3 years.
It's not encouraging them, though, to sort of express themselves, though, is it? It's almost, we're sort of leashing them almost as far as Van Gaal is by putting so much pressure on them so early.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
This is part of the problem. I mean, you've sort of answered the last question I had for you from this week's Fan Takeover, I think, Mark. Which position do you think is most important for United to sign a player in the January transfer window? And 69% said centre forward, which I think, or gather from what you're saying, you'd agree with.
Yeah, just over right midfield. I think we need some pace in that position, but maybe the development of Lingard, and I still think Ashley Young can do a job there for 6 months till the summer. But we do need a striker.
Who would you go for, Mark? Like realistically in January?
I would go for Lukaku, and I would offer £50 million and just see what Everton would do, because I think he's cheap at that price. I think a lot of people, when I was talking about him on the transfer show this week, were shocked that he's only 22, because he has been around for a long time. Like Nick says, 50 goals already. I think he's got everything we need. He's left-footed as well, which gives a bit of balance. I can't see it being Lukaku. So who else? I'd be interested to hear what you like to think, because I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want someone like a Berahino or someone like that. I'd rather keep the money.
The answer is that there aren't really many out there, are there?
Would 50 mil get you Kane in January?
Ooh, I think 60 million for Kane, and probably not till the summer. But maybe that's the same as Lukaku, because Everton are doing okay.
Oh, they're known for it, aren't they? Tough business.
Yeah.
I mean,
either of those two would be fantastic, though. I think
they would.
It is like a glove, yeah.
Absolutely. But you mentioned, Mark, and the fans picked up on this as well, about this sort of right wing / right midfield, depending on which formation you're playing. 23% of the fans said that a winger was the priority, so that was the second top answer chosen by fans out there in terms of priority. Would you personally go for someone multifunctional, which I know Van Gaal likes, but would you go for someone like Griezmann, who can do a job on the right wing and also up front, or would you favour going for the actual out-and-out number 9 like Lukaku, someone like that? Where would your preference lie on that side of things?
I think for the striker position, I would go for a Lukaku, because he's big, powerful, strong, and he is an out-and-out striker, or that's his position. That's where he plays, and I think that is what we need. We need somebody to just bully the opposition and play a position that they know really well, and who can score goals, be powerful. And I think in Premier League proven, like I said at the start, I don't worry about the cost of things. I know some fans are like, oh no, it's too expensive, this, that and the other. I mean, we all know really that the Glazers take money off us every bloody day. So I would spend the money on Lukaku, whether they will or not, and whether Everton would sell it. They wouldn't sell Stones, would they? So.
Well, I mean, it's going to spell out our ambitions for the season, or for the rest of the season at least, what we do in January, what action we actually take. If we get someone in like Lukaku, or go out and spend big money and show our intentions, I think we could still be saying that we are title contenders.
60 mil plus Rooney for Stones and Lukaku.
It's ambitious. That's very ambitious. It's Wayne Rooney's value at the moment. Good grief. It's but £2 and a pack of Freddos, I think. But
150 million for Stones, Barkley and Lukaku plus Rooney.
We're doing a Scouse raid.
We're on Football Manager now.
Excellent. Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been great to catch up with you after such a while out. It'd be good to have you regularly back to the show. Just remind people where they can find yourselves on Twitter.
It's at United Stand MUFC on Twitter.
Excellent. And the guys also do regular content on YouTube, so be sure to check them out. Mark, as I say, pleasure to have you on, and we hope to speak soon. Yeah, really enjoyed it, and good luck with the rest of the show, lads. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Mark. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. There you go. Fan takeover this week. Excellent as ever.
That was a lightning transition, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, Joe was really on that one because we have to move on, as great as opinions they were. It's time for me and Nick to be put under the spotlight by producer Joe in the return of the Shootout.
It will be soon.
It will be soon. There's 2 questions that Joe has for me, 2 questions he has for Nick, and one that will fire back at him and also for you, the fans, on YouTube and Twitter for you to answer, because it's the return of the catchphrase. It can't be a shootout without 5, Joe.
Indeed, yo.
So, question 1, I believe, is for me. So, whenever you want to fire away, you do so.
Yes, I've found it, as you heard some scrambling
Well done.
paper there.
Fantastic job.
I moved myself on too fast then, guys. so what I did was shoot myself in the foot, really. But Andy,
you did something that United don't have, Joe.
a bit of urgency.
Lightning quick.
But anyway, Andy, it's a nice and simple one for you. What can bring back the excitement at United?
Well, the big thing that I would focus on in terms of bringing excitement back at United would be the formation. We've mentioned it earlier on in the show, and you talked about 4-4-2. I personally think we've tried a lot of formations under Louis van Gaal, and the one that stuck and got the best out of us was 4-3-3. I think what you want to do is stick Martial to the left of those, put Rooney up front for now until we find a replacement, and have someone like Lingard, Ashley Young, get some pace in and around them, and get a proper spearhead to that attacking three. So that'd be where I'd stand.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd have to agree with you, which is new for me. Agreeing.
Can we keep that?
We could just keep it as like a little thing for me to play in every now and then. It's good job I'm in charge of what goes out. But
I actually agree with you.
No, I do think that's. I think we're looking for something else now. I don't think the players we've got are the answer for the excitement, and also I think we're looking for the man at the top of it all to move on a bit earlier than he said he was. Get rid of that 3-year plan and make it a 2-year and sod off.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the thing is, if you reintroduce that 4-3-3 and sort of rely a little bit more on the fullbacks to give you a little bit more going forward, Daley Blind was superb as a sort of left wing back going up and down the pitch. Darmian can certainly perform that role. And I also think it gives you a chance to bring Ander Herrera, the forgotten man who unfortunately has come on against Watford and got injured, a chance to play in a midfield three and inject some life and some pace and intent back into the midfield as well. I mean, I don't know where you'd fall on this, Nick, but I mean, when you look back at the formations tried, 4-3-3, surely that was the most successful. Maybe we should just give it a go.
Are we talking current squad or?
Yeah, I mean, we can do,
January?
Yeah, no, let's talk current.
All right, current squad, I don't think a lot can bring the excitement back. That's my personal opinion. I think, I said it earlier, I think we've got to grin and bear it.
How many players short are we?
I think we need 3 players. Like Mark said earlier, I do think we need a new striker. We saw with Van Persie in the 2012 season what one man can do. He can, rejuvenate the whole team, just one person performing at their very most. And I think with the current squad, I can't really see a lot where the excitement's coming from at the moment. We've had this for 18 months now. I think the closest thing we can probably see is if Martial starts scoring again. But personally, I don't know. I just think we've got to grin and bear it till the summer.
I just think though, let's not forget that United were not playing particularly good football ahead of that run against it was Tottenham in there, Liverpool at Anfield, Manchester City the 4-2. Yep. No one really gave us a chance going into those runner games. Now, the players haven't changed that significantly in terms of the mould. If anything, we've improved in certain departments.
I think that was a sort of a ride or die attitude. I think LVG.
Great line.
Sorry, yeah. I think that's what it came down to. I think LVG was playing Russian roulette. We were there in the change rooms before the Spurs game, and I think he just said to the players, you know what, if we lose this, top four's gone, just go out and do what you do. And I think the players just went for it. And I think that's what that one of the games was. We had nothing to lose. If we lost one of those games, top four was gone.
So it was Manchester United unleashed.
It was pretty much, I think it was, like I said, a ride or die attitude. Just go out and do it. And I think those 5 games saved our season last year. And I think we might have to pull something out of the bag again this season, because with Liverpool coming on, with City getting Silva and Aguero back, Chelsea will come back at some point and will challenge for top 4.
I don't think Chelsea will, but Spurs, I agree, will certainly be in there.
Especially with Kane and the form he is at the moment. Even teams like Everton, this is a worrying time for United. Like I said months ago, this season, I was not impressed in the summer. Is another top 4 consolidation in my eyes.
Joe, I think we've exhausted options on excitement there, so let's move along.
2 varying opinions.
I was about to jump in, but I thought I'd let you. I thought you'd let you have a little moment.
I thought you were going to say you agree with me then, Joe. It's getting too much,
Nick.
I think we'll end the show.
The day that happens, it might be Christmas, which, funnily enough, will United be top at Christmas.
I knew what he was doing. I was waiting for it.
He's not lost the links, has he?
No.
Well, there you go. There's your question, Nick. Will United be top on Christmas Day?
Thank you. You've repeated that for me.
Obviously, we mentioned I don't like the style of football we play, but like Paul Merson said, we've got belly. We're grinding out results. And I said a few shows back, if we keep on, I think the ones to beat at City. I think if we keep anywhere near them, anything can happen in football. We saw with those run of 5 games we mentioned a few minutes ago. I think if you stay within a win of City, then I think anything can happen. Personally, no, I don't think we will be topped by Christmas, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, if you look at the run of fixtures heading up to, I mean, obviously we've got West Ham, which we're going to preview.
I think we'll be
later.
top 3, but
we've got Bournemouth away, we've got Norwich at home, and that takes us into Christmas. So they're three games that have got to be considered winnable. That's got to be 9 points, surely.
Or 3 1-1 draws.
Or 3-1-1 draws. Joe, where do you fall on this? West Ham at home, Bournemouth away, Norwich at home. Should we not realistically be putting ourselves in the hat for contenders by Christmas time?
I don't see why not. I don't see why it's not a possibility to win the league. We might sneak one in there. We've done it in the past. Why can't we do it this year? So I feel like if we're consistently boring throughout, then we might have a chance.
We might bore teams into submission.
I mean, yeah, we might.
Doing it on the basis of Mourinho last season.
We're like the Mayweather of football.
They might just not turn up. Because they just think, well, what's the point? It's just going to be a 0-0 and we might just win off draws.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be the next option. But
interesting ploy.
And are Man United mirroring... There you go, it's there.
Nicky Butt's come back.
Mirroring.
Yep, exactly. There you go. You say that word for me. I'll do the rest of it.
It is a tough word, mirroring.
Are Man United...
Mirroring.
Their management. There you go. 30 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, they are. Because I was saying about before, the life sort of seems to have been drained out of Manchester United recently. And when you look up to the stands, Louis van Gaal is sat there painting pictures, moving his counters round, whatever it is he's doing, whilst Claudio Ranieri was up the whole 90 minutes getting behind his teams, putting energy into them, giving them new ideas, telling them what he thought. How are you going to get what United want from a piece of paper? That would be my argument.
Oh, there you go. It's a
Do you know what I think he's writing? When he's sat in a dugout writing away.
Go on.
I just think he's writing philosophy over and over again.
I've actually got a genuine theory that's come up, and it's a shame with the show we've got being this stacked up this week that we don't have the return of news of the social world. But I've got a theory, and I'm going to go into this over the next couple of weeks. Louis van Gaal is writing his sort of diary about his hate for the Spanish.
Maybe.
I'm going to go into more detail on this.
Florentino Perez.
Over the next couple of weeks. But if you look at the treatment of Victor Valdez, Herrera, and even Juan Mata being dropped in recent weeks, I think there's a hatred there. So I think he's trying to poison Paella.
Do you think...
I like
thoughts.
Paella.
He could also be texting his grandma.
Yes.
It could be.
I wonder if he's found where she is.
I wonder if
We could do that. What is LVG writing?
Yeah, we'll put it out
A new
there on
segment.
Twitter.
What is he writing?
Hashtag,
Yeah.
what's he thinking?
When we return to News of the Social World on next
Could be
week's
another
show, we'll
rename
discuss
Wayne.
this further. But yeah, what is Van Gaal writing on his notepad? Let us know your thoughts. Be interested to hear.
Now, Nick.
Joe.
Thank you. I'm not going to give you a link. Can't be bothered. Is Gary Neville preparing himself for the Man United job?
No, I think I don't want to read. I'd like to read into his new Valencia job, but I was shocked when I saw the news. But no, I don't think he is. I think he's Peter Lim, who owns Valencia, has connections to Salford City. He's obviously asked G-Nev if he can do a job to the end of the season. It might benefit us in the long term, but at the moment, I think G-Nev's gone over there just to learn something new. He's took a risk. It's a big risk. It's a very hard league to go into when there's only 2 teams that win it. But no, I don't personally think he's gearing himself up for anything. I just think he's going to get a bit of experience out of it.
And a good experience at that. Certainly one that's better than Ryan Giggs' current role.
It's not to say that he couldn't unintentionally gear himself up to it. If he performs unbelievably well
I like his new name.
Comes second in La Liga.
What, G-Nev?
G-Nev. I've not heard that one before.
It's nice, yeah. But we put a question out there on Twitter this week. If Louis van Gaal stays until the end of next season, so sees out his contract, and we do give it the job to an ex-Red, which one would you give it to, Ryan Giggs or Gary Neville? 56% said Gary Neville. What does that say?
I'd go Quinton Fortune. Personally.
Would you?
Do you know what I
good.
think where the 6% come from?
Go on.
The 6% watching the expression between LVG and Giggs. And if Giggs is learning from LVG, then he can go with him because I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have Gary Neville come in and do something else because I think that it's time that even if we played.
What do you reckon Giggs is writing in his notebook?
Fergie,
just over and over again.
It's got to be something along them lines, isn't it?
I think the problem with Ryan Giggs is he has about as much charisma as Magnolia. I mean, there's just nothing about the guy.
But he's the first to go and have a word with the ref after the game, which is nice.
It's not to say he couldn't be a great assistant coach.
He could be, but you know, would you throw? It'd be like the Chuckle Brothers, wouldn't it? Someone like Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville together running a football club as big as United. It would be a bit of a joke, wouldn't it?
Right, Joseph.
And he needs
question now.
He needs something. I think what's missing is we all knew about Fergie's. Was it geese? He had a story about geese.
He did have the story about geese, yep.
What's missing is something like that from the club.
Maybe Ryan Giggs is drawing pictures of the geese flying in formation.
Maybe.
Right, what's missing? What's more important, Joseph? Winning games or playing well?
I'll start my clock. I think that winning games is it's a hard mix, this one, because I know from my point of view, I'd rather go and watch a game that's 5-5 than watch a game that's 0-0. I think it's more exciting for everyone involved, but I do think it's important that we do have a consistency to us, and I think winning games is important, but I think you've got to win them in the right way. So it's kind of a mixture of both on that one.
So,
If
of
play
course,
well,
it has
don't
to
you
be a
win
mixture.
games? 90% of the time.
I suppose it depends on the quality of your squad.
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts on it has always been win first and then win well.
Well, it's the team's philosophy as well. I'll come back to that word.
Oh,
Bournemouth's
50p for the jar.
Bournemouth's idea of playing well is getting a 1-1 away at Norwich. United's idea of playing well is beating City 3-0 at home. So, you know, there's different ratios.
It's just this whole style over substance debate that I got into this week. And when you pay your hard-earned money to go and watch a club, like Joe says, there is a certain entertainment value, I think, expected from fans. And football is supposed to be there to entertain at the end of a week. You go and work all week, you expect something fun. So I get that. I just think on the counterbalance to that, football is a results business. That's the industry that it is, and that's what managers' jobs are based on. So that has to have some importance. So, as I say, I've always been of the belief that you win first, and in doing so, you then look to win well, because winning, it sort of breeds confidence, breeds form, and hopefully brings about a better way of playing football.
But at the same time, I mean, I agreed with you slightly within my 30 seconds.
Okay.
But
I'll take that.
I do think that it's not only important that, I mean, we were known as these big giant killers. That people, like Nick said before, people would come to Old Trafford scared, and they're not anymore. They know how to play us, and I think that's more important to me. That we need to be a team that's slightly a bit more unpredictable, a bit more edge about us, bit more flair to us.
What annoys me is a team with Andy Carroll in it is coming to Old Trafford aren't scared.
Dare we say any more? Well, that's a good way to end the shootout, actually, mentioning Andy Carroll, because we're actually going to end this week's show by doing the weekend preview. And, of course, West Ham come to Old Trafford. Here we go then, weekend preview time to end this week's show. West Ham, as I say, come to Old Trafford with Andy Carroll raring and ready to go. Nick, how does this one stack up at the weekend?
It'll be boring. It'll be another slow, lethargic performance. We'll have 64% possession. West Ham will have around 36, is it? Maths isn't the best. No, I don't know.
Wow.
It'll be a really boring game. That's what I'm prepared for. I'm looking forward to it.
And you insulted me for my music before.
I suspect we'll win, personally. I think West Ham have got a lot of injuries there. Brilliant footballer. Payet is out, which is good for us. So I expect the win. I'm going to go to probably... I won't do my score prediction yet.
He nearly got it out. We'll save that for now, Nick. Couple of things to go through with the way the teams line up at the moment. West Ham winless in 4 in the league and haven't won since their home game against Chelsea. And
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Another interesting thing to point out as well, Nick, of course, West Ham at the start of the season were pointed out as being sort of giant killers themselves, away wins at Arsenal, City, Liverpool, but their away sort of voodoo that they'd had has been dispelled. Only one win in their last 4 games, having lost their last 2 at Watford and Spurs. So, I mean, surely...
Does that coincide with the loss of Payet, though?
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because Payet, of course, went off injured against Everton. And when you look at them at the moment as well, they're without Sacco now for a couple of months, so he certainly won't be playing. Enner Valencia as well, who was superb in his first season, missing. Yeah, there's a lot missing there from West Ham. They're off the boil at the moment. But, Nick, they are still the 4th highest league goal scorers so far this season. On the other end of it, though, they have conceded the joint most goals of any side in the top 10. So they're very open.
I think if you break that down, the 4th highest goal scorers, I think, at the start of the season.
Yep.
And they've got one of the worst defences later on in the season.
Exactly.
So I think we have to win that game, personally. With those injuries you've told me, with that form they're showing, I think we have to win. I'd be very upset if we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think that West Ham will sort of rely on to trouble us then, without the likes of those 3 players? I mean, is there
the big Geordie, won't it? It will be him.
Do you think they'll start with Carroll?
I think they'll go for it. I think they'll start with him, and I think they'll hope that we play Blind at centre back, and they'll hope that we can sort of attach themselves to him. And do similarly to what Graziano Pella did against us, sort of attach himself to Blind and just sort of cross balls in there and put Blind under pressure.
Yeah, sort of the way that Benteke tried to play against him to a lesser extent as well. Yeah, I think they'd be silly not to give it a go, wouldn't they? And also, of course, they've got good little players still, like Lanzini, who's come in and been tremendous for them, and Zarate as well. They've both got 4 league goals, so they've still got attacking threat coming forward. If we look at it from our side, though, United have been good at home this season. 4 wins and 2 draws in the 6 league games we played at home this season, so we're unbeaten at Old Trafford. And we haven't actually lost since May against West Brom, that boring 1-0 game. So we have been good at home.
Another boring game, Andy.
I know, can you believe it? So what do we do? How do we set up to go and cause problems to West Ham?
Well, first and foremost, we bench Rooney. Next, I'd probably play Martial up top.
Right.
And I think we just have to go for it. We just have to express ourselves. We're the home team. We have to instill a bit of fear factor again, like we've been going on about all show. Like, and just pass the ball quicker around the 18-yard box.
And maybe take a shot every now and again, see what happens.
Exactly. I know it sounds basic and it sounds a stupid argument to make, but
sometimes a simpler way of playing is the best.
Pass the ball quicker, shoot more, and you'll see the end product.
Let's compare teams then, Nick, because I've put my lineup out there and I'm interested to hear any changes that you'd make differently. Okay. I'm going to line it up as a 4-3-3, as I was mentioning earlier on in the show. I think that's a way of bringing the excitement back. David De Gea in goal, Darmian Smalling, Blind, Rojo, although I've heard Rojo's actually injured. So what I'd probably do is put Blind out to left back and maybe bring someone like McNair in. Midfield 3, I'm going Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin and Mata. I'm going to bring Mata into midfield and make him create chances going forward. And then what I'd like to see is a front 3 of Young to the right, Martial to the left. I am going to keep Rooney in there as a spearhead and hope that he's inspired by the new formation. What do you reckon? Well, I think
you need more than a formation to inspire him.
We can try.
No, my lineup would be I'd probably go 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
I'd probably go obviously Dave in net. I'd go Darmian, Smalling, McNair, and Blind in defence. Basti and Morgan would be sort of holding midfielders, and then I'd have Lingard playing on the right, Mata centrally at number 10, with Memphis next to him on the left, and I'd have Martial up front.
An interesting idea, that, Nick. Merging Bastian and Morgan into one player. I think that would be a winning combination.
Midfield,
Thanks,
they call it, yeah.
No,
I am known as a visionary to some people.
Just one player. We don't need both of them. if they could merge into one, that'd be great.
To be fair, if you got the best qualities of both players, you'd have some player in your hands, wouldn't you?
That's what Pogba. Bye.
Yeah, on a serious note, that'd probably be my team.
Lingard I only didn't put in there, and I put Young ahead of him because Lingard has had a knock, so a little bit worried about that.
I just think,
if he's fit, I'd play him.
He's just more direct, isn't he? And we said we need some urgency in there. He's not afraid. I know it sounds a bit of a ridiculous statement. I'd also probably throw like Rashford in there. I've not seen a lot of him.
No, I haven't.
But I watched him the other night. He was the 3-2 against Liverpool under 21s, and he is very, very quick. So he would cause problems. And if we're going to play Rooney instead, what's Rooney done this season? Nothing. So why not give the lad a chance?
Fair comment. Let's end quickly then at the end of the show with score predictions from the three of us. Nick, we're going to start with you because you nearly blurted yours out earlier. So what are you going for?
An amazingly entertaining 1-0 United win.
1-0. Producer Joe, we'll come to you. Where are you going this weekend?
Well, I'm going to Old Trafford.
Thanks, mate.
That's where I'm going.
Cheers.
There you go.
All right. Any score with that?
I've not decided yet.
You're running out of time to decide.
Plenty of time. I've got all the clocks in here. Many clocks. I don't know. I'm gonna go. Do you know what? I'm gonna throw it there. 3-0.
3-0. I'm going to go right in between. Manchester United 2, West Ham 0. There we go. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. Simple as you like. Let us know your comments below on the score predictions for the weekend. We'll put the link out there. We'll put it on Twitter. Get involved in the Predictor League. You get 3 points if you get the right result. So why not get involved? It's a good bit of fun to do over the weekend.
Is the fantasy football still going? If anyone's got fantasy
just
football.
Just about. If you want to get involved in that, I don't know, just go to fantasy football and you'll find us somewhere. But thanks ever so much for listening as always. Another fantastically entertaining and quick fire show. So here we go then. Hammers come to Old Trafford. Let's see how that one goes. We'll see you on the other side, guys.